Incoming message.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind. Groovy.
Hi-ho. This is me, Kermit the Frog.
Hello there.
Moopsy.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Not a great plan.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Different roads, same old spark. Talking Trek till the street lights spark. We're those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mack and DT camming, lighting up the airwaves. Blasters of books, we're geek to the core. Laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys.
And that is it. We are those sci-fi guys, and this is at those sci-fi guys show. Just two working dudes, different lives, different jobs, but a whole lot of love for science fiction and the fun that comes with. We are your hosts. I am P.S. McKay, and there's a nip in the air, a chill on the nose, and Festivus is right around the corner.
And I'm DT Cavman. And the cold never bothered me anyway.
Oh, freaking Frozen reference, man.
Well, in fairness, I deal with cold better than I deal with heat. It just is what it is. The military never sent me to super cold locations per se, not comparatively. I mean, they did send me to Alaska for 2 weeks, but that was in July, so that was
yeah,
fine.
that doesn't count. The worst you had was, oh, it's only dark for like 3 hours.
I wish I saw no darkness at the beginning of July.
Oh, it was
except in the hearts of men.
In the hearts of men. Wow, that's dark, man. That is dark. That is dark.
Yet, be true. Kansas was cold though, mostly because like there's no mountains or big forests there. I'm not saying there's no trees and hills, but like literally, like it's wide open.
Oh yeah,
hills and small stands of trees and small little, little woods here and there. Not like these big sprawling, forests you get in different areas. And that wind came right down from Canada across the Dakotas. The Dakotas seem to funnel it because Nebraska does jack shit to stop it, especially when the corn's down. And once it gets to Kansas, it's just biting.
Yeah. Wasn't Kansas the start of Arbor Day? Like it was like in the 1800s that they some guy was like, yeah, this place needs some trees. If only there was a way we could look up Arbor Day.
I'm not going to do it.
This is sci-fi. This is not history. Bleh.
Oh, trust me, we get a lot of history. I'm just not diving into Arbor Day.
Yeah, I hear you.
Occasionally, you can spiral down the rabbit hole, too, if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. In the worst way. Oh, man. Well, like I said, there's a chill in the air. We are coming upon, as you see with our backgrounds here. I had a little fun with AI the other day. So this will be the next couple episodes, I think, just to keep us in the festive spirits. But DT, when the festivities come around, you have a special day that you celebrate.
Well, yes, I usually celebrate
Ramadan,
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom would not appreciate this.
How was your birthday?
It was nice, actually. I'm not one of those people. It's like it's my birthday month, and if that's you, fine.
No,
happy for you, but it's just not me, not you.
Yeah, I caught that too late.
But that's just not generally me. I don't make a big deal out of it, at least not at work. Like people. Like I mentioned it only to my boss yesterday because he asked me a question like, well, what's new? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
You go, well, it's my birthday, so it's like normally you're because I'm like going up for like he bought pizza for the office, and like I went back for seconds, and he's like, oh, because I've been trying to do better at eating, bringing my lunch and stuff. He's like, man, you really tore into that. It's my birthday. I'm getting fat today. He's like, okay. Oh, that's right, man. Anyway, so yeah, it is what it is. Had Mrs. Caveman and the kid. We had a nice meal together, some presents, but that was it. This weekend, though, parents, sister, and nephew, and we're gonna all have dinner and stuff. Chill and relax. It'll be nice to be surrounded by my family. So I just didn't want to drag people, out in the middle of the week. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Sorry, my mouth was full. So I'm glad you had a good day. You don't take the day off from work?
I normally do actually. The last couple of years I have, mostly because I keep getting hosed on working birthdays. Like when my first real birthday working, I had. It's one of the things that was like really triggering me towards going. Is like I had a petulant asshole out on the road who kept me there when I was working an hour plus away until 7 o'clock at night because he was being a dick. And I was like, this isn't cool. I got family coming over, and I'm not going to get back until like 8:30. Like,
and everyone will have already eaten the cake at that point.
Yeah. So my then boss at the time was like, "Oh no, go. We've got the maintenance team is there. They can make sure this guy punches in and out." Like I was like, I'm fucking pissed.
If that could have been the case, then why didn't you tell me?
I'm like, come on. Yeah. So that was like one of those triggering moments where it's like, yeah, this ain't working. So
yeah.
A couple months later, I started a new job. Anyway, yeah. So, but my surgery that came up this year kind of.
Oh yeah, I forgot about your surgery. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right because it takes so long to get like short-term disability and like and FMLA. Plus, it's also like fraction of what you make at work.
Yeah,
and I found out from my doctor that. I mean, I could come back to work. I'm like, what if I took a week? I only work in the office, or I could only stay. I definitely could do 85% of my job from the office. And then, he's like, yeah, I guess so. So I scrabbled together some last bits of PTO and took I took the day off of my birthday. It was a choice between that and Veterans Day. And, I can celebrate my birthday on another day per se.
Right.
Particularly
Veterans
if we
Day
want
has a
the
little
family
bit
to
more.
get together. And my kid is also off and doing Veterans Day stuff.
Exactly. She's got obligations, and
so
that makes sense. I wasn't big on taking my birthday off until about, it was probably. When was it that it was Vince Wilfork helped win the ALCS for the
So
Pats.
he's playing baseball now?
I'm sorry. The AFC. I'm sorry.
AFC Championship game?
Yeah, the AFC. What year was that? Was that 2012?
So Vince was on the Super Bowl team in 2004 and the Super Bowl team in 2014.
Okay, so it was 2014 then. That was when I first started realizing, hey, I should just like take 3 days off for my birthday, especially when, I could couple it with here's the thing. With my work, I get new assignments every day. But if I take 3 days off, that is the minimum threshold to take off so that I don't get any new assignments my last day before I go on vacation. So I don't want that day to get a new assignment. So I take 3 days. I usually take days off in groups of 3. But it was 2014 where I had the bright idea. Oh, yeah, you're an adult. You could take that time off. And then I've done it ever since. And it's glorious.
It is. And normally I do, mostly because sometimes my wife and she'll take it off, and maybe we'll go have lunch and just have a nice day together.
Yeah.
And then when my kid gets home, usually it's when kid gets home from school, but then we'll do dinner or something like that. It's a little less stress than you're not trying to play beat the clock while somebody you're trying to set up dinner or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But I've also had deployed birthdays in the field. I think one of the craziest ones was we were at home. I wasn't deployed, but I'd basically been in and out of field exercises, like living in the field per se, for the better part of that fall. The longest time, the only real weekend I had between second or third week, the second week of September, Christmas, was Thanksgiving. That was the only real weekend I had for weeks.
Damn.
Maybe there was one random weekend in the middle, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I think we were in the field over Columbus Day, which the military normally takes off. They like to give you the long week, one long weekend a month kind of thing. But
yeah,
we came out of the field in time for Thanksgiving. We did Thanksgiving for the week and a half there. Then we're like, all right, we're going to prep to go back into the field in the second week of December. I'm like, Jesus, is it really necessary?
Oh my God.
I still believe to this day that exercise wasn't truly necessary, but whatever.
Yeah.
But the weekend before we were all planning, I think I only got Sunday, but I think we were in the office Saturday. It was me and my staff. So 10, 12 of us in there just grinding on things. So Mrs. Caveman's like, it's your birthday, dude. I'm like, I can't. I'm running shit. So they come into the office, they bring a cake, and they brought a bunch of, they stopped by the Little Caesars and grabbed 6 hot and ready pizzas for the office.
Little Caesars gets a bad rap, but it's not bad. It's totally serviceable as a pizza. I mean, it is not gourmet in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong.
Hot. Once it's not, it's hot.
I'll disagree, but I understand where you're coming from. Yes.
Look, I am what you call a pizza connoisseur, and one of the worst things for me is, and no offense, I'm not hating on regions, but the South and the West do not do pizza to the same quality as, well, in my general opinion, the Northeast. New York, New Jersey style, Boston. You get the Chicago deep dish, which is really very different, but at least it's its own thing, right?
Yeah.
It's legit, right? A lot of people don't like Chicago deep dish because it's
it's filling.
Layer cake.
It's rough sometimes, depending on what toppings you have on it.
The Detroit style really grew on me. They're the little pan, but rectangles, and some versions put the sauce on the top of the cheese. But it's good. Living in a lot of military towns, the closest thing you get to pizza is Pizza Hut, Domino's, Papa John's, Little Caesars. No offense, but I grew up in a town, where we grew up, it's every town's little house of pizza,
Yeah.
Or something
the Greek style pizzas. That was big
Greek
too. Remember?
Yeah. I found a Greek style pizza in El Paso of all places, and it was good.
Yeah.
I go searching, and sometimes I've been rewarded. We found a New York style pizza in Killeen, Texas, of all places.
Really?
the definition of a strip mall army town.
Well, and I've been there. I was gonna say, like, yes, all the strip malls, all the big box stores, all the Walmarts, like that's all it is. There is no like Texas. It's just big box strip mall national chain things.
You can find the small things here and there, but they're usually more towards the outskirts.
Yes. Yes.
But Mama and Papa Caveman came down to stay with the little one when Mrs. Caveman and I took a vacation after my third deployment, and they actually found a New York style pizzeria, which was actually good. So we were very grateful. But you know,
oh, your dad must have been in heaven.
oh well, he was thrilled, and of course they, you know, obviously going to where my grandparents lived out in Western Connecticut, you'd sometimes get that New York flavor spill over.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he, you know, in his younger days, he did a little more traveling for business, so he was familiar with the New York style. Of course, we're much more prone to the New England style, but that's a legit pizza, right? Like you're seeing people knead the dough, tossing it in the air.
Yeah.
A legit one, but
I would
love.
Go ahead.
You would love what?
Well, I would love to have you try the pizza that is a delicacy in the Central Valley called Me and Ed's.
I'm very skeptical because I've tried California style pizza before.
I'm not endorsing it.
But
everyone out here loves it. It's got like a layer, a cracker style crust that's layered. Everyone grew up on it, so everyone loves it out here. And I'm like, I mean, I would actually rather have Little Caesars than that pizza.
Yeah, and some people grew up with the sheet tray pizza in elementary school.
Oh my God,
nobody's saying
the worst. That was, I don't understand how popular that was. That was super popular. The freaking pizza day in elementary school. Like I had one bite of that and I almost upchucked on the table. Like that was not pizza. That was something else entirely. Like that cheese would catch fire.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, those are the things that it's like, these are the times that try men's souls.
I know, right? It's such a hard life we have. So,
but, you know, real quick before we kind of jumpstart into the topic, I did want to show, this was kind of neat. It's almost like a little, crap. There you go. It's, a graphic novel with a series of short stories.
Oh, okay. Star Trek Explorer Presents was the year I saw myself die.
Yes, the fate of the Enterprise is in Mr. Chekhov's hand as the ship is attacked by an Orion Marauder. Step back in time to explore a pivotal moment in Vulcan history, and rivals 7 of 9 and Captain Liam Shaw clash in a prelude to the events of Star Trek Picard. So there's a bunch of short stories, and can you see that?
Oh yeah. By Walter Koenig?
Includes short
fiction. He did his
fiction.
own short story. How cool.
Yep. I mean,
good
I don't
for him.
know exactly how many stories are in here. Maybe 3, could be more, but there's definitely. It's kind of neat. This was a neat gift, and then as Mrs. Catman found this bizarrely fascinating thing.
Oh my! What in the what? Okay, so it's a Lego head guy, and what kind of cord is that? You use it for hiking and stuff.
Well, in the military, we call it 550 cord. because I think that's what his tensile strength is. But it's definitely like, military style, hiking style, all-purpose cord.
Yeah.
Nylon cord. And he's got clearly a little toy rifle.
Yeah.
But my wife and kid have decided that this is Chet McKenzie.
Nice. Oh, good old Chet.
Yeah.
I need to. Oh, let's just do it. Here we go. Old Chet.
Yeah, that was fun. It's interesting. My kid has, for years, we were giving her the Star Wars Lego Advent calendar, which she really liked for a long time, all the way up until last year. This year, she, I was like, you're growing up. Do you still want it? Just came out. She's like, well, let's look at it. She's like, I mean, it's fine and all, but I'm like, do you get as much excitement out of it? She's like, I don't know. Want to know what she's very much into right now? Like when we go to Comic-Con and stuff, what she ends up buying when we're at Comic-Cons?
You never said.
Funko Pops.
Dude.
There's vendors just with so many.
I never understood Funko Pops. I never did. It just, they were kind of bobbleheads, but not.
Some are, some aren't.
Yeah.
But I was just scrolling through, and there was a Funko Pop mini Star Wars Advent calendar. And I kind of offhanded and mentioned it. She's like, oh my God, yes. And so now that's what her Advent calendar is.
Well, that worked out, didn't it?
The first day was R2-D2 with antlers. Reindeer antlers.
Because of course.
Yep, they're all Star Wars and, various holiday garb.
Well, that's cool. You know what? My wife was, for the first time, actually got separate. Did you text me? Oh, yeah, you did. No, I'm fine. My wife actually got the kids separate advent calendars this year, like pre-bought, like that you've gotten, and because she once upon a time made her own advent calendar and had like a cabinet that she painted and made individual drawers and stuff, and then she would mix up the numbers and have like she would buy these mini presents or candies and things for each kid, and every other day, like the boy would choose, and then the other days the girl would choose. And this year she's just like, I'm buying pre-made ones. I'm done. We're so busy this holiday season. It's just insane. My daughter's Shrek musical is going to be premiering on a day after tomorrow, and
Cool.
she's in tech week, and she's in downtown Fresno until 10:30 every night. And she's like, so I'll let you guys know how that goes. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, let me know.
She's very excited about the thing. So out of my two kids, I would have thought it would be my son that wanted the theater bug, but it was my daughter that got it. I shouldn't be surprised. But for some reason I was. But yeah, because I was a big theater kid. I was the theater kid in some ways. I didn't sing. I wasn't a singer. But
Well, it's good when our kids can find things that they're passionate about.
yeah. But it's just like a lot right now.
Oh my God, yes.
It's just so
My
much.
kid is doing sports and other extracurriculars. She's got like 3 things that take up a lot of time. And I just have the one kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Actually,
my God.
She's got 4 things that are supposed to be taking up a lot of her time. It's just like,
she's still in Girl Scouts.
She's got that. She's got confirmation. She's doing a couple other things.
Oh my God, I forgot about confirmation. Pun not intended. I didn't mean that. So, yeah, that's a thing.
It is.
Yeah, life goes into overdrive when the kids enter high school, or even middle school. Middle school, it starts hitting that pedal to the metal, and then the nitrous oxide kicks in 9th grade. NOS? Yeah, it's the NOS, nitrous oxide. Laughing gas.
We're talking about some slang or new.
Yeah,
something.
It's stuff that's been going around since the 90s. But that being said, speaking of the 90s.
So you had a very interesting topic to bring up.
I did. So, part of this, stemmed from I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before, where you and I, we just don't want to give up our cable packages. We just don't. Like, we feel like if we just cut the cord and we go strictly to streaming, that we're going to feel cut off from the world. Like, we enjoy cable for its certain intrinsic values.
Yeah, there's something for that. And then, of course, occasionally, both the pluses and negatives. Say you're watching network TV, watching a show, and then all of a sudden, a storm alert comes on. You're like, ooh. Sure, right. It's going to wipe out a chunk of your episode, but it could also be, oh, didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you could also go Google, but if you're like me,
or
sometimes I come home and I unplug my brain sometimes when it gets to be that time of night.
Right. So,
but there's also the local news. Now, again, can I go online and do it? But sometimes you're sitting there and you're like, oh, and you're like fast forwarding through the commercials and it's like, there's the news break just before the episode resumes. And you're like, this news at 11. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should pay attention, especially when it's more local stuff.
Oh, like yeah. Local news has a value.
It does, especially if it's things that affect like here's whatever the latest, like the local elections or some other issue, right? Mm-hmm. You can get stuff that, and yeah, is this stuff that you could easily Google? Most of these stations have, go see channel12.com and, read the article.
Yes. Yes.
But there's just something intrinsically, I don't know, comforting about being able to do that.
And that's probably because of how we grew up, and we don't want to lose that umbilical cord, so to speak. But I mean, there is something to be said about having that be a way of keeping ourselves plugged into the world or the community, so to speak.
Well, and yeah, there's pluses and minuses to it. Some of us prefer, as I've gotten older, at times I want to be informed, but I also don't want to be informed.
Right.
Like, oh, this is sounding really, this is too shitty.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just going to go back and put on a rerun or something.
Yeah. About 10 years ago, I learned that I had to shut off all news notifications except the local television station that I watch regularly on my phone. It just had to be done because the world went topsy-turvy about 10 years ago, freaking out. And we're all still here, everybody. But that being said, I was, I also brought up the fact that it's funny how cable has this way of, if you're scrolling through the channels and we see like an obscure episode of Deep Space Nine, like I am more likely to settle on that and drop the remote and watch the rest of that episode than I am to an episode I already own, by the way, than I am to actually just be like, you know what, let's throw that up on the Apple TV and we'll watch it from the very beginning. I enjoy finding the episode maybe a few minutes in and watching the rest of it rather than going to streaming and seeking it out. Like, I'm more likely to watch it that way, rather than through streaming.
Well,
which is interesting.
I haven't done that when I've been scrolling across TV where I've come across some old Star Trek. I haven't seen that in a while.
Well, it's not there, really but being played anymore.
But like the other night, I'm like, we're getting to that period of time where some shows aren't, some of the network shows are done for the winter and won't be back till January. And others, it's like, oh, well, it's the hiatus after Thanksgiving. They'll come back for a couple of weeks in December and then they'll take the break. Right. So you have that. And I was, I didn't have anything else to watch. I didn't really want to sink my teeth into a movie or even a full long hour. And you know what I ended up doing?
Watching the Orville?
2 episodes of Lower Decks. Why? I wanted something light, but I was also in a Trekkie mood.
Yeah, I got you.
I wasn't going to settle in for yesterday's Enterprise or,
nothing heavy like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to be able to say, okay, make me laugh, you goofballs, and
right.
Got a good chuckle, but a little Star Trek out of it. But, it's funny, in the last couple of weeks, there's also been a few significant sitcom anniversaries. So Thanksgiving week, CBS ran the 30th anniversary of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything else on. I liked Raymond. I settled in and I fully enjoyed that hour and a half, retrospective with all the surviving stars.
And it was a retrospective on the recreated stage, right? It wasn't,
correct,
they didn't do a new episode.
No. They straight up said they'll never, at least these guys will never do a whatever 11th season, or they're never going to come back because they're missing, actually they're missing all of the older folks.
Yeah.
Right. So they're missing.
And they were a huge part of that show.
Right. But I mean, obviously you're missing Doris Roberts and Peter Boyle as Frank and Marie Barone. So they're gone, and they were main characters. They're also, one of the twins has since passed too.
No, really? Oh, child star syndrome ish.
Yeah, there was a very unfortunate situation, that a lot of these kids find themselves in.
I hate that so much. Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. So there was that. There's also, and then like a lot of the recurring guest stars, like Amy's parents, Deborah's parents, they're all dead, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not quite unusual. Many of them lived to be in their 80s and 90s before they passed. But they did bring back, all the surviving main cast members, including the surviving kids. And it was nice. But only like 2 or 3 weeks before that was a retrospective 40th anniversary of the Golden Girls, which my family and I had actually started binge watching early in the year. Because Mrs. Cavman, she never saw it growing up. And my kid was kind of curious, and we watched it, and it's just so damn funny.
Yeah.
Both of those shows are sitcom classics and are extremely funny. Now, of course, something from even 10 years earlier with an older crowd, with an older cast, clearly, Betty White was 99 when she died, whatever it was, 4 years ago. So
yeah, 3 weeks shy of her birthday.
So 100th birthday. That was kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
But oh my God, and they talked about how the Golden Girls grew out of, essentially it was like like an NBC showcase sketch with actually Doris Roberts and another older actress, and it was a little skit for like the showcase, and it went over very well with the audience. And so they were like, oh, well, and that's kind of what led to the Golden Girls coming up and how it impacted. You had, big name stars, being on the show. You had, a lot of cultural impact, how there's Golden Girl cons and there's, Golden Girl trivia, and they're on all sorts of merch now. And
Funko Pops. I've seen the set.
My kid has a Rose Funko Pop.
Deadpool loves B. Arthur.
I know. And again, these are, but of course, Everybody Loves Raymond was also pretty huge.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of this nostalgia and retrospective, and every now and then it's kind of neat to like go back. Like, I guess a very young George Clooney had a significant role in a Golden Girls episode. It was like, oh my God, they were so awesome.
And The Facts of Life.
Well, he had a recurring role on that, I think.
And Roseanne. Yeah. He was a boss in Roseanne at the toy factory or something like that for a few episodes. But yes, and so, it's nice to go back to these older episodes and just to, I rewatched Frasier a few years back, all the way through season 7, and that was really nice. Which brings us to this. Okay. Be nice to actually like
those Sci-Fi guys.
Yeah, let's try that again, shall we? Here we are. So forget the Outer Banks. This is an article on Yahoo Entertainment I shared with you, because there happens to be a trend that Gen Zers just want to watch older sitcom or TV shows. I'm not going to read this word for word, but I'm going to choose a few choice passages here and whatnot. And I thought it'd be interesting for us to discuss, because you and I are fans of old sitcoms. And
well, some of it is the sitcoms we grew up watching, where Gen Zers were not, like, their parents might have just been born when MASH was on.
Right. And their parents didn't watch MASH. Yes. This is a different kind of phenomenon. So
I did.
Yeah, I didn't. I've seen exactly one full episode of MASH, and it was the episode, was it Radar Leaves?
Oh, yeah, it was a double episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So
just know, folks, I don't remember this from firsthand. I think that episode came out when I was 1. But much like the Golden Girls, I have very fond memories of watching episodes of MASH, Jeopardy, and the Golden Girls with my grandparents. So
I just knew it was time to go to bed when that show started, when that theme song
when MASH came on.
Yeah. the end of the night. So forget the Outer Banks. These Gen Zers just want to watch MASH and Gilmore Girls. Why young people are obsessed with shows that were made for their parents. And, Friends is actually a phenomenon for this too.
Friends, I believe, was made for their parents. Some of the shows mentioned, like especially MASH, was made for their grandparents.
Yes, exactly. So when Marie let her niece, Brianna, pick the music for their car ride, she was surprised that the high schooler wanted to play a bunch of songs from Gilmore Girls, including its popular theme by Carole King. Given that the show premiered in 2000, more than a decade before the teenager was born, let that sink in, by the way, Marie was surprised. Yeah. Brianna, who was 14, says she likes the quaint series about a mother and daughter living in a quirky small town even more than Outer Banks, the sultry Netflix treasure hunting drama aimed directly at her demographic. Brianna says she finds the teen shows made for her generation with storylines so outrageous that they circle back to boring, ridic, quote unquote, and would rather watch something cozy and, quote, vintage. Nostalgia TV, that is shows that were initially released more than 10 years ago, are more popular on streaming services like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Prime Video than nearly all of their shiny new programming. And that's an interesting trend, by the way.
Well, yeah, because right now the people with the money are the ones paying for those streaming services. They're the ones who grew up watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I mean, how many shows on Netflix got started and then just got canceled unceremoniously?
Too many.
Right.
Some of them were really good.
Or they got canceled because there was too much of a delay between seasons. We were talking about that with Stranger Things. Stranger Things is the exception, but
there's others, but you're right. Most of it is exception that proves the rule. Like The Witcher was like 2 years between. You have others, if you've got a juggernaut, it can work, but a lot of it just ain't going to survive.
No, exactly. So a 2025 digital eye trend report released in October found that series that began airing in the 2000s, like Grey's Anatomy, Supernatural, and Gilmore Girls, have been viewed for far more hours than current crazes, like Stranger Things or Wednesday. Grey's Anatomy, for example, was viewed for about 3.5 billion hours between 2021 and 2025 versus Stranger Things, which clocked in at 1.7 billion viewing hours. And the reason why nostalgia TV is so popular. I was about to read it, but no, go ahead. Conjecture.
Well, I was wondering if, like, some of these shows that are like Grey's Anatomy or even NCIS, the original is on Netflix, it's on Paramount Plus. You got 20-something seasons to choose from. Kind of wonder if some of these shows are just broader. Like, it's easy to get into some of these procedurals where, I mean, yeah, it helps to know where some of these characters came from, but I mean, some of these cast roll over so much. And Grey's Anatomy and NCIS are both 20 season strong shows. They're still on Netflix or are still on network TV, but are also like doing well on streaming services. But like, you can jump in the middle of the series and be able to pick it up. Whereas all of these other TV shows, and we've talked a lot about, the 10-hour movies does not allow for a casual fan.
It does not. Because the plot has to take all of your attention and continue.
Right. But it's also, they seem to be more niche too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I can agree with that.
Like, there's a million and one medical shows or police procedural shows.
And those are 4 quadrants.
And some of them stick around because, they're very good at adapting real life stories, as well as, you might have, look at the Law and Order franchise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of these, for the most part, aren't super fantastical, which can, I guess, sounds like can drone things out.
Dude, I came across.
Continue.
You brought up Law and Order. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I came across an episode of Law and Order that aired in 2001. It was just randomly on. My wife left the TV on when she went to go pick up the kids. So it was like mid-afternoon watch. And it was from 2001. And I was looking at it. I came out to the living room and saw it. And I'm like, this looks weird. This looks like it's HD. But this looks like it was filmed in 1988. Like, with the way the story was told. It was as a kid accidentally.
Which show was this? Oh, Law and Order?
Yeah, Law and Order was about they found out that a kid was switched at birth, and they were telling the mom of the kid that they found was switched at birth that he wasn't their child. And gut-wrenching story, well told, don't get me wrong, but it felt like it was from a completely different time. It was from 2001. I'm like, that's modern day. There was internet. There was high-speed internet back then. Like, it just felt weird and different.
Just watch a TV show. Like you watch a TV show from even the early 2010s when not everybody had a smartphone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
was the first on-screen representation of an iPhone was in the Sex and the City movie in 2007. I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
But it is interesting. And you were going to finish.
Yeah. So the reason why nostalgia TV is so popular, might seem simple on the surface. These shows are familiar to longtime fans who just want to throw something on. But older shows from the 2000s and earlier are captivating members of Gen Z too. When I posted on TikTok in a search of young fans of older TV shows, it received more than 900 comments. Dozens of young viewers whose last names are withheld so that they could speak free. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. A TV show passed down
to protect the innocent.
Yeah. Law and Order. Dun, dun.
Nope, that was Dragnet.
Oh,
that was the first TV show that came out with that.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Yep. The names have been changed to protect the innocents.
They used real cases from LAPD.
And that show started as a radio drama.
Yes, it did.
And then it became an actually fairly amusing movie.
Dan
Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it was about pagan worshipers or
there was a cult with a charismatic preacher, crooked, everything. It was everything, every stereotype from like
mid-80s satanic panic.
Yeah, but also from probably 50 episodes of Dragnet.
Oh, sure.
That they all just slapped into a movie.
Yeah, no, that's true. And Ed O'Neill actually was in a reboot of Dragnet in 2000.
I saw it. Yes, they tried to get it off the ground. It was supposed to be like an NYPD.
Dramatic.
It was supposed to be like an NYPD Blue successor, but a reboot of it. Yeah. Interesting, though. It was an interesting attempt.
I want to see if I can pull up the trailer for that show.
Well, anyway, finish what we're doing.
Oh, man. 2003. So anyway, for nearly all of these young fans, their passion for older television shows was passed down through their parents, like antiques or old stories. Amanda, a 45-year-old who lives in Georgia, watches a lot of the same TV she always has, but now alongside her 13-year-old daughter, Elise, who prefers Gilmore Girls, Friends, I Love Lucy, Designing Women, Golden Girls to Newer Fare. She's a bit of an old soul, and revisiting Gilmore Girls with Elise has given her mother a new perspective on mother-daughter relationships, and made her more sympathetic to Rory's teenage mistakes. Aisha, an 18-year-old student in London, was introduced to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Full House by her older siblings, who were born in the 90s and wanted to culture her. She's tried to get her friends into those shows, as well as Friends and Desperate Housewives, but it's mainly a bond she shares with her family. By the way, let me just mention Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Not a good way to learn how to small talk women into like a relationship. Like
no.
I watched that. I saw Will damn, baby got back. And I'm like, oh, that's how you have to act? I'm like, I don't think I could do that. Like,
no. But the Fresh Prince did, it was a sitcom, but they tackled a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
They tackled about, speed, but they sex, they tackled, abandonment issues Will had, deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
Racism was, of course, prevalent and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even prejudice against, like, the episode where Will and Carlton are trying to, I think, rush at a fraternity. And, one of the upperclassmen is hating on Carlton because he actually has money. And he's kind of a preppy versus, what his expectation of a black man is supposed to be.
Right.
It was interesting. Plus,
yeah, no.
You also had one of the great TV dads in, Uncle
Shredder.
Phil. Shredder, yeah.
No, Uncle Phil was a fantastic father. A very authoritative one that you listened to. He had goofy moments, but he was not a Homer Simpson. You know what I mean?
No, but neither was Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow was not either. I mean, he was
Danny Tanner was a little more goofy, but that was almost because Bob Saget's stand-up comedy was like the antithesis, so he almost had to go that way.
He kind of had to push back a little bit, to have some kind of fun with it. You're right. No, absolutely.
And you can't say it, but Cliff Huxtable was a great TV dad. Bill Cosby, maybe not so much.
Oh God, some of the things that some of the clips you see from the Cosby Show, there are some questionable moments where you're like, did the writers know? Like,
the really messed up part about it is that was a fantastic show.
It really was.
It was widely considered one of the top sitcoms of the 20th century. Groundbreaking, and it's been buried.
Yeah,
buried.
Yeah,
because no one wants to put it out there.
No. I'm sure. That's not a quagmire we want to end. But you're right. Your observation is absolutely correct. Continuing, for some young people, returning to the same characters and storylines from their favorite rewatchable shows over and over again reveals new layers each time. Stella, 20, has been obsessed with The Big Bang Theory, a sitcom about a gaggle of socially awkward geniuses that ran from 2007 to 2019, since her sister got the DVD box set for Christmas when she was 6. The Kentucky-based student says that 90% of the jokes went over her head at the time. Watching it as I grew up, I got more and more of the jokes. This is the Golden Girls situation for us.
Yes.
Which you can't believe they got away with on national television.
Oh my God, it blows my mind sometimes. But then also just how people spoke and the things that were considered acceptable at the time. But even as you rewatch some of these shows, the ones that are really good still hold up well.
Oh, yeah.
The Golden Girls still holds up very well.
I agree.
The Big Bang Theory, for the most part, holds up pretty well. I mean, sure, early Howard was a total creep.
Yeah, they worked that out. Times were changing and they worked it out, But I remember when that show came out and premiered in 2007, it was right after I got married. And I was like, oh, this is actually a good show. I enjoy this. And then I was nervous it was going to get canceled.
It was on for a few years.
The
strike. Oh, my God. Well, the strike, almost took down a lot of shows. But the ones that are really good powered through it.
Yeah.
Like 30 Rock. That was another sitcom. That's one I've rewatched multiple times.
I need to watch 30 Rock. I caught a few episodes.
It was funny.
You see, the problem is I don't watch a lot of NBC. As I've said, my father never worked.
It was all
NBC,
on Netflix.
So I know.
For a while, they were all on Netflix. In fact, I binged a buddy of mine, New Yorker, New York, New Jersey guy. He'd never seen it. When we were in Saudi, we would binge. And this was Saudi too. He'd come over. He'd sit on one side of the room. I'd sit on the other side of the room. We'd binge watch, 30 Rock for power through 3-4 episodes just to chill out,
Yeah.
Tried the social distance.
Brain bleach.
Sorta.
Yeah. He sat on that's why you said he sat on the other side of the room. I forgot. Yeah.
It was 2020. It was April. I mean, things were still weird, especially for us overseas. It was all right, well, it's not like we were gonna be cuddled up on the couch. I mean, but it was
his arm draped around your shoulder. You're patting it.
Hey, let me tell you, good, real solid dude, good friend.
Oh,
but, it's like that. Yeah. We binge watched the season 7 of the Clone Wars, man. We were binge watching 30 Rock. It was like, dude, come over, we'll chill out. What is there to do at certain points? It's like, all right, well, let's bust out a streaming service and watch some shit.
Yeah.
But that was another one. Some of these ones are the funny thing is humor can be timeless, but the general humor, but like the topical humor. If I wasn't so well versed in history, so many of these names and references would go way over my head.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially during that time.
Like the Golden Girls, like 30 Rock, I get because I lived through it. I mean, I lived through the Golden Girls, but I was also 5 when the show came out. That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. So nostalgia for times they never knew. The comfort of sinking into a show from a different time, and in many cases, what seems like a happier time, appeals to a lot of young people. Anna, a 22-year-old student in Rhode Island, started watching the idealistic political drama The West Wing, which ran from 1999 to 2006 when she was 12. Her parents, so 10 years ago, she started watching this. Her parents thought that it might help her understand more about American government.
In theory, not a terrible idea.
Not a terrible idea. They were wrong, but West Wing, well-written show. Don't get me. It's a good show.
Well, here's the thing. Almost all the TV shows they referenced are well-written shows.
Yeah, well, that's the key, right? The side effect is these shows were all much better written than a lot of the slop we're getting right now. And we'll explore this once I get through most of this article here.
Well, let's power through it because this article is dragging.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, aren't we? Look at that. Oops, you didn't see that. I am not held accountable for the ads that are on this thing. So some young people, let's see, are nostalgic for eras that their parents lived through. And even going further back than that, when Sophie wants a little lift, she puts on a vintage sitcom like the Dick Van Dyke Show or the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Okay.
No one seems to be hanging out on TV anymore, leading fans of chill, familiar comedies to reach back into the vintage TV archives in search of comfort. Mary Tyler Moore is certainly no Euphoria after all. Let's see. It reminds her of a simpler time before television's turned towards the dark and intense, which, again, you've talked about that.
Now, some of these TV shows like
Prairie.
Well, some of these shows that we mentioned, like even like police procedurals, will lean in the heavy because that's where their bread is buttered. Medical dramas, I mean, but the good ones also had a way of having heartwarming moments, maybe some levity, some, they're again, well written, well directed, well acted.
With range.
Sometimes that's where the long seasons, and you could throw a fluff episode in there, a lighter-hearted episode.
About that here.
Yep.
So part of why young people are gravitating towards vintage TV shows has to do with the way the entertainment industry has been upended in the last 2 decades. New shows pop up all the time, but they're also easily canceled as streamers look to extract maximum profits from their slate. That doesn't give viewers much time to build relationships with new characters. Abandoning 20-episode seasons and the, quote, appointment TV model of keeping audiences coming back every week has led to shorter seasons. Back in the day, you had almost 4 months of this. This is exactly what we talked about. You had almost 4 months of getting a new episode every week, says Grace, a 25-year-old from Utah who's obsessed with The West Wing and Gilmore Girls. When it was done, they reran old seasons. It's like they were listening to us, DT. They reran old seasons, and we just got to enjoy the show. Now we really have no time to connect and truly care. So then fewer people tune in for the second season. Oh, talks about Star Trek here. Lauren, 19, a 19-year-old student in Missouri and a Star Trek fanatic, was one of the several young people to mourn the death of the filler episode. Here you go. A diversion from the main narrative that explores character dynamics or unique scenarios but doesn't push an overarching plot forward. We can't care for the characters if we don't know the characters, she said. One of our favorite episodes of Star Trek, the original series, was a filler episode in which a character accidentally transports himself to a mysterious planet, travels through time, accidentally changes his, city on the edge of forever, and has to undo it. It helps develop said character and keeps the audience on its toes, but what happens doesn't affect the overall series plot.
Well, and really, the original series, there was no series plot per se, other than explore strange new worlds, seek out new life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. So, and this is the end of the article right here. They're talking about MASH, this person, because she's a big fan. It's a brilliantly written TV show with the perfect mix of comedy and drama, Rosie says. While our lives are not necessarily like the characters, we are living in a similar time period with regard to societal unrest and change, so a lot of the messages and themes feel very relevant. If a series is available as a DVD box set at someone's grandmother's house, there's probably an online community for it too. Even Gilligan's Island, which aired in the 60s. I used to be a part of a multi-fandom Tumblr blog back in the middle school, and I was the resident Gilligan's Island fan. Elizabeth, an 18-year-old student in California who estimates that she's seen the show hundreds of times. Sometimes I still see posts about it that I enjoy, mainly behind the scenes and bloopers. For Gen Z fans, TV shows aren't just about escaping to the past. They're also about the community they're finding with other fans and a way to stay connected to their families. The stories they've latched onto have already outlasted their eras, and for now, they still feel worth holding on to. End article. I think you and I both agree with this completely. I don't know if they actually got to the answer, and I don't know if we have the answer for why this phenomenon is. There's some good points.
We've already brought up some answers.
Yeah, I mean, there were some good supporting ideas for why this phenomenon exists. I mean, basically, we have younger people who are enjoying older TV shows and foregoing the new stuff that's being brought out by Hollywood.
So, Mrs. Catman, as I brought up before, has talked about recent trend in books. So, a year or so ago, there was what they called like magical realism, where it's like, oh, yeah, she's reading a book, and it's like, oh, this main character, her great-great-grandmother was a mermaid kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit of the fantastical in the real world.
That's my book.
Exactly. Now she says it's about comfort. That's the trend in the books, is things that are comfortable, you know, maybe a cute love story, something. But she said the trend in novels right now is comfort. That is exactly what the article danced around. It is comfort.
Yeah.
Why did I go and put an episode of, you know, why do I occasionally just stop? How many random Star Trek episodes did we do this year? Like 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, like,
because it was comfortable.
It was. Like, we did did we do the Way of the Warrior this year?
It was either this year or last year. We might have done it last year.
Might have done it last year, but we did the Drumhead.
We did the Wounded.
The Wounded.
I mean, but we've done that, and that's what this is, though. But that's the comfort. It's the sliding into your comfy sweatpants or your favorite pair of beat up old sneakers or your favorite sweatshirt, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is, right? Turning on an episode of Deep Space Nine or The Next Generation, or turning on an episode of Seinfeld. I watched several episodes of Seinfeld recently.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I did a binge watch. I did a accelerated binge watch of MASH. I watched a bunch of episodes of MASH. Sometimes it'd be like when I'm on the exercise bike. I didn't want to dive into like a 45, 50-minute long episode of whatever heavy drama I was watching, you know, a light episode while I'm like doing 20 to 25 minutes on the exercise bike, 25 minutes while, the characters on MASH were regaling me with the hilarity of the Korean War.
Yeah.
The TV show lasted 3 times as long as the goddamn war itself.
Yeah. Well, it was just that good of a TV show. They needed the war to keep going.
Almost 4 times as long. The Korean War lasted 3 years. The MASH was on for 11.
Yeah. No, very true. Very true.
So it's very fascinating, but again, some of it is like, again, MASH wasn't made for our generation. This was our parents' generation, but maybe more, a little bit older. Like my grandparents watched it. My grandfather was a doctor. My grandmother was a nurse. He served in World War II. So there's something to that, right?
Yep.
Like my grandfather was a doctor in the Second World War. He loved MASH. My grandmother loved the Golden Girls. So that's where my love is. Like this is a memory I have of watching these shows with my grandparents. And that's something special to me. There's a reason why it sticks in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
My kid watches The Simpsons. I go on and I look at her streaming history now, and it's like she's been watching Grey's Anatomy. She's been watching, but like, I mean, she liked Young Sheldon, so we started having her watch The Big Bang Theory, right?
Yeah.
She wanted to watch The Simpsons with us, so she started watching Simpsons, Futurama. You know, these are shows that Mrs. Kaufman and I really like to watch, and especially for background stuff. If we're just hanging out, or we'll put it on if we don't want to argue over something. Here's one of 700 episodes of The Simpsons we can watch.
Yeah. No, that's
right.
I always throw on Friends in the background at night because it's too early for Seinfeld to come on, but I got to get away from cable news, which my wife watches all the time, unless she's like throwing on Cupcake Wars and stuff. But she watches that from the recording, from the DVR.
Sure. My kid might be watching Friends occasionally too. She binge watched the entire series of Blackish last year, which is a lot more recent.
Yeah, the show started out strong, but then they lost me when Bo and I forget his character's name, but Anthony Anderson's character, when he and his wife separated, when he and his wife separated, I felt that was an unnecessary. It was unnecessary to put the audience through that.
You talk about that, and this isn't even a show I watched, but wasn't that one of the beefs that they had with the last season of The Office? Weren't they creating like strife with Jim and Pam?
They did, yes. I didn't actually
and she
watch
started
the last
watching The
season.
Office.
Yeah, she did. I didn't watch the last season of The Office. I saw the finale live, but I didn't watch much of the last season because they lost me after Steve Carell left.
I never watched The Office. I never watched Blackish. These are just shows that just didn't like pop for me. I never watched Park and Rec or Community. I did love The Big Bang Theory. Loved 30 Rock. And these were adult sitcoms, right? I haven't watched a ton of sitcoms recently, although I kind of enjoyed Last Man Standing, but I kind of came into it at the end. I would see it in reruns. So I enjoyed that. I'm not going to say I do like Last Man Standing. I did a binge watch of that earlier this year, but I also like Tim Allen in general. I grew up watching Home Improvement. We showed our kid a few episodes of Home Improvement.
My brother stared watching Home Improvement again, and he texted me. He's like, dude, Tim Allen was our dad. It just brings it. He's like, it brings me so much comfort to just see him through Tim Allen again. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
I get a little vibe of my own dad through Seinfeld.
Really? Through Seinfeld? I mean, I can see that. But
physically,
Seinfeld was such an asshole. Your dad's great.
Sure, he is great. But he also had a similar look to Jerry in the early 90s.
That's I can
Brushed
get
the
that.
hair up, the same kind of wardrobe. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, but there's things that do pop for you, right? I can remember hearing my dad, you know, some of the sitcoms in the 90s, just like hearing him belly laugh
Yeah.
from the other room, you know. But, you know, these are things that if you have like a familial connection, right? Something you watch with your grandparents or with your parents, right? Even like when you and I were kids, if we were home, like say on let's say April break and we weren't going anywhere and you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do? And you go and you turn on TV and at 9 a.m, it's reruns of the Munsters. It's the Addams Family. It's Gilligan's Island. No, that was like 7 o'clock in the evening. That, you know, like USA ran Wings and TV shows.
You know, I'm thinking of like 1999, 98, 99, USA in the middle of the day.
Wings, you know, well, yeah, like in college, like I actually had a shitload of friends in college watch Golden Girls because they were running like at lunchtime.
Yeah.
On Lifetime. And she's like, all right. I would be walking back from class with one of my friends. She's like, all right, go back, have lunch and watch Golden Girls. I'll see you later. Like, okay. Like I watched that with my grandmother like 15 years ago. But there is that, right? It's the same reason, though, for many reasons why. You know what? I will occasionally get a wild hair and watch end up watching like 8 episodes. It's the Clone Wars. It was a great fucking show. They're 20-minute episodes. Boom, boom, boom. You can watch a few, you know, but there's comfort to it, right? I know I've seen the whole series, right? But again, it was well written, well done, right? I can even watch a season 1 episode of the Clone Wars where it was still very boxy.
Yeah.
The animation.
Yeah.
Because some of the stories were great, right? These things that you just slide into and you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's
that
like
feels
my
good.
favorite. That's my favorite
childhood
sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Right. Oh man, I love watching, you know, the Magnificent Ferengi. I love this episode. You know, it's like just throw something on, or I just want to. I'm gonna like. I haven't watched an episode of Wings in a while. I'll do that. Next thing I know, I'm 3 seasons down after 2 days. You know, it's like, okay, great TV show. You know, I've been watching a podcast, a YouTube podcast, the Patrick Labber show with Patrick Labberto. He was a child actor. He got his start on Little House on the Prairie, but he's probably best known acting wise for being on the TV show Jag for 90% of its run.
Yeah.
Right. But he's been a working actor in Hollywood for like 50 years. And like I said, he's like 60, right? So he was a child actor, Little House on the Prairie, and he has, you know, this podcast which has recently been popping. It's been very interesting because he talks with a lot of actors, how they get started, you know, and whatnot. But like I've been watching it and I'm like, oh man, I really gotta go watch an episode of Jag. So that's what I did tonight. Nice. There wasn't anything else I was going to watch. And I'm like, all right, guess I'm doing that. And I did.
So I want to bring up a point, but I also wanted to say it's Patrick Labberto. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay. He's like third billing.
He is. Do you remember?
He was in summer school.
Do you remember your next door neighbor's obsession with Ski School?
Yes.
Ski School movies?
Yes. I never understood. It was a stupid fun movie. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it wasn't as good as he made it out to be. Like no. it wasn't as they worshipped my brother worshipped that movie too. Like
you know why. You know why.
I know. But it was not.
But here's the thing.
Tune in Tokyo. Funny. Okay. Cute.
I bought those DVDs and I watched them on my first deployment. I'm like, oh yeah, this is. I mean, it's sophomore.
It's okay.
I mean, it wasn't like life altering, but you know why.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But like anyway, but that's why. Like, oh yeah, I loved that show. I followed it from NBC to CBS. I loved that fucking show. It was the only military show on in the 90s, right? That had any success anyway. And so, boom, now I was hooked on that. And that is the show that spun off the NCIS franchise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so, and then I followed that down to NCIS. And
which is funny because he plays Olev Kozlovsky or whatever in NCIS, but he's a completely different character in JAG as Bud Robert.
Bud Roberts was the naive young guy.
But in the same universe, he plays a Russian in NCIS.
It must have been like like he played the character, I don't know, 3 or 4 times as a guest role on NCIS. Which is funny, but it must have been like a background thing, because like they reused a lot of actors from that. It's funny. It cracks me up.
That is interesting.
No, he doesn't on NCIS.
Yeah, season 20. But in season 20, he's Olev Kozlov.
It must have been a voice on a phone or something.
Potential. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. He's in season 1 for 1 episode. Then he makes an appearance in season 14 as Bud, 15 as Bud, and then in 20 as Olev.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would have. Oh, I see that. Yeah. So it must have been like
some voiceover or something, right?
Has to be. Yeah. Because he appeared as Bud in that same season too.
The same way that Michael Shanks, who played Dr. Daniel Jackson in Stargate SG-1, he also voiced the character of Thor, one of the gray aliens that recurred all the time.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's some of these, like, look at Star Trek. Remember how many people would come back as guest stars playing other characters?
Kirk's son. Jesus, I mean, wasn't far removed. The guy who played Kirk's son in Star Trek 2 and in 3 was in the first season of TNG.
Yeah.
Was it Symbiosis?
Yeah. And his partner there was also Khan's.
One of Khan's men. That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean,
forgot about that.
Star Trek was famous, particularly in the Berman era, of recycling actors. Some of whom got bigger roles because they had bit roles. Like Tim Russ had some bit roles before he got the job of Tuvok.
He played the same character in TNG as he played in Deep Space Nine. Same plot.
Basically. Just one was a human, one was a Klingon.
One was a Klingon. Both characters are trying to take over the facility. It was Die Hard in space.
Exactly. So you get that, right? But again, this is why we know these things, right? Because we slide in. It's comfort food for us.
Which brings me to my point. I wanted to bring this up and get your thoughts on this because we just read an article about why these youngins love this era of television and storytelling because it's comforting and it reminds them of happier times that they never experienced. But do you think that it's that kind of comfort that was the reason why we felt so betrayed when Discovery did the shit that they did, when Kurtzman pulled that crap off?
I kind of do, because one, it wasn't super hopeful. Even Deep Space Nine, which was the series
Still held Roddenberry's edicts, you know?
There was still that hope, right? And I didn't get that feel from Discovery, at least not until, Pike started to bring a little in season 2. He was definitely not the secret evil captain.
But they started throwing filler episodes in that for a 10-episode season at that point. And it's like,
no, I'm talking about Discovery, because their first couple of seasons were like,
they were 15 episodes.
Yeah. So you could slide 1, maybe 2 filler episodes into a 15 episode. When you put the same amount in a 10 episode season, then it feels weird, right?
Yeah.
Even Lower Decks would, particularly their later seasons, had a season-long arc, but their episodes were still generally episodic.
I actually appreciated that.
Yeah.
On Lower Decks.
Strange New Worlds, the seasons 2 and 3 really kind of moved away from that.
They lost the plot. They were like, well, I want to do Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay. That's cool. We can do that. But it felt like a betrayal. It was a betrayal. We had that moment of hope where we're like, oh, we can actually revisit this and actually feel like things are going to be okay. And then what they did was they basically took the corpse of someone we deeply loved and treasured, desecrated it, threw it up on a pike, and marched it through town, allowing everyone else to spit on it.
That's not fair to the hair.
You know what I mean? But yes, a spike then. On a spike.
Yeah. Well, have you gone back and rewatched any Discovery?
Okay, so remember how I tried? I tried to watch the pilot, and I got 15 minutes in, and I shut it off. I'm like, I can't. It's impossible to rewatch.
Sure.
It is so uncomfortable and terrible.
Of the revamped series since 2017, can you pick out which of those shows I rewatch the most?
Picard season 3?
No, I haven't done a rewatch of that. It's not that I don't want to. It's just I know I'm going to have to strap in for the ride.
Right. And that's the down that was the one drawback for Picard season 3. It was awesome.
Was a
it was awesome, but it was a 10-hour long movie, and you can't just plop in
after what
through.
We kind of stumbled through with some of the previous iterations of this recent Trek. We deserved it.
We deserved what we got. Don't get me wrong, but the one downside was it was a 10-hour movie.
Right.
And you can't, like I said, it's not episodic, so you can't just like throw a random episode up. You have to literally start at the beginning and go through. I mean, I've watched the last 2 episodes multiple times just because. Like that was the final arc.
I believe I've watched the first and the last episode of season 3 twice.
Yeah.
Everything else was just one time. Again, not that I didn't love it, and I definitely did. I got to settle in and like say, this is what I'm going to do. That's why I haven't rewatched one of my favorite movies of all time, Gettysburg. It's a 4-hour fucking movie. I love that movie, but it's something I'm going to have to like settle in a fucking whole day for.
Yeah, you do.
But you never
what
answered.
Is the series? No, yeah.
Lower
Decks?
Lower Decks. First off,
yeah.
You can take those little bites because there are 20 plus minutes, right? So that's an unfair advantage it has against the rest of them. But they're so rewatchable because in addition to generally being relatively funny, the love they have for the franchise, the fact for the most part they're loyal to the franchise, and they actually do Star Trek shit. The idea of the Cerritos being a second contact ship that follows up these big first contacts is brilliant. And if you were to turn that into an hour-long TV show, like an hour-long episode TV show, it would work. You could turn that into a standard Star Trek hour-long drama.
Sure.
You could, because hey, this is now you're digging into the real world problems of what it's going to take to bring somebody into the Federation, or what you're dealing with was helping these people grow their cultures,
Yeah.
which they actually do. You don't see that much in live action Star Trek, but Lower Decks did a pretty good job of it. Plus, they filled in a few plot holes here and there, but they had fun doing it. But it's eminently rewatchable because of the reverence it has for the rest of the franchise, as well as the fact that it built on the universe.
No, I mean, I agree. I sounds like I disagree with you. No, I completely agree with you in that regard, and I can understand that. It's not my cup of tea to jump in, but I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm glad.
I would love McMahon and Metalis to be the Filoni and Favreau of Star Trek.
Yeah, Metalis got caught up with Marvel.
And I'm sure it's going to crush, but it would be awesome if Skydance is like, you two were the only guys who really pulled victories out of the hat.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, Favreau and Filoni, this shit. And I'm not saying John and Dave didn't have some stumbling blocks at some point, but still the best Star Wars shows, with the exception of Andor, were done by them.
True. No, true. Yeah. But, I mean...
also another show that you'd have to strap in for to do a rewatch. But
so
think of it for this way, right? If all the books are going towards comfort, people are peeling back to comfort. Why do you think that is?
Well...
All right. Here's what else I'll throw to you.
Okay.
The 80s. Look at some of the big stuff that kind of popped in the early to mid 80s, right?
Yeah.
You had some like the A-Team and Magnum PI, and some of these shows were, I'm not going to say fantastical, but at times just a tad on they were adventure shows. There was sure, they were action shows, but like they weren't really like dark murder stuff. These were the heroes, the white knights who come to right the wrongs. And I was watching, it was a DVD extra, I believe, on one of the A-Team DVDs while I was in Iraq. I only watched it the one time, and this is how it stuck with me for 20 years, is that due to all the shit that went down in the 70s, the gas crisis, the Vietnam War, the collapse of like the hippie movement, and how dark and gritty and rough the 70s were, right? You got Rambo. You watch it, you get the movies that came out in the 70s, like the deconstruction of like heroes and stuff. Like, you watch a Western from the 70s, they're rough, you know? And like, there was a lot of tough things that came, a lot of like raw police movies,
You made your point, but keep going. Like, the 80s
fact of the matter is, there was a bit of a rebirth, particularly television-wise. And it was a little bit more escapism, okay? The A-Team, what are these guys? They're war heroes who are fighting against running from the law for crimes they didn't commit, but while they could, become mercenaries for hire to go and, just get money or whatever, they're stopping and helping people. They're using their skills for good. Magnum PI, another Vietnam vet. A lot of them were Vietnam vets who were given so much because the movies kind of drug them down in the late 70s and 80s.
Yes.
The Vietnam vets. But you see these guys and like Magnum's doing good. You have Airwolf, the super fast fucking stealth helicopter, and these guys are out there on their own rescuing. And
Knight Rider.
Other crazy things like Knight Rider, right? Exactly. A talking car. But what is this guy? MacGyver. These guys are all doing things for good, but they're also kind of fantastical in ways. Same thing with Fantasy Island, with Khan.
Sure. Khan. Ricardo Montalban.
The great Ricardo Montalban. But that was the gist of this like 20-minute little DVD extra, was because of how shitty things kind of felt in the 70s. TV, and really in particular, TV went towards a little more positivity. That's probably why you were able to launch Star Trek again in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus the movies being relatively successful. But then think of this, right? A lot of people are tired of the political strife. Everything's dividing us.
Trust in the news is at an all-time low.
Exactly.
Top to bottom right now.
So what are you going to do? You're going to go and turn on Seinfeld with some absurdist humor.
Mm-hmm.
And people are arguing in a coffee shop over, the dumbest shit. The contest, Spongeworthy, people are
Spongeworthy.
You're watching, and some of these TV shows, like not Seinfeld, but like The Fresh Prince, some of these did deal with some issues,
dark moments. Yes,
but they were
it wasn't the premise.
Very special episode, and it was designed to like, hey, this is almost a way you help educate, and I can understand why people want to go. This is, again, it's an escapism. But there's also really good writing and stuff that's relevant today in some of these older shows. And maybe something that they feel comfortable with because maybe their parents or grandparents watched.
Okay, so let me bring this full circle to the forefront here. Sure. We got a bunch of young people that are nostalgic for a time that they never experienced. But what they have experienced was the pandemic. Probably the worst experience of young minds ever when it came to the lockdowns and that situation, where it stunted them socially, hurt them academically. It was a traumatic experience. Top it off with the news. I know. I'm talking. I know. I'm not minimizing your experience. I'm just saying. There are other ancillary things to consider too. So
no, you're right.
But and top it off with a news industry that if it bleeds, it leads, and it manufactures crises after crises on both sides. By the way, this is a nonpartisan thing. So people are feeling supremely overwhelmed. So. You're right. I do think that is a significant factor. And to top it off with the new stuff that's actually coming out, again, it requires too much immersion into all the crap that they're already dealing with.
Yeah.
Like shows like Euphoria. I've heard lots of good things about it, but it doesn't sound like something I want to watch. Stranger Things. I barely got into Stranger Things. The only reason why I got back into it, we watched the first 3 episodes, and my wife couldn't handle it anymore. It was just like too scary, too much body horror, things like that. I eventually finished it months later after this is the first season. And then I kept hearing things about the other seasons when they came out. I'm like, okay, we got to watch this. And because it's the last event television of the culture at this point. So, but Stranger Things is not something I want to rewatch. I only rewatched it for homework purposes.
Yeah.
Like all the, and again, you can't just rewatch something. You have to go all the way back to the beginning and watch it all the way through. And, there's this thing about in Hollywood where they're starting to do writing for TV shows where it's called second screen viewing. They write a TV show so that there's no subtlety to it. They say everything in the dialogue because they're anticipating that the person isn't just watching their TV, they're also on their phones while they're watching TV, which is true. But if there is a show that requires my full attention, it will have my full attention.
That was Andor.
Right. That was exactly. So the entire idea of second screen viewing, I think, is a lost idea. It seems like it has merit, but it doesn't. Again, what it comes down to is the fundamental change in the way the industry is, where it cannot finance a 26 episode season anymore. And there is a serious lack of quality writers that can actually get people through a production like that now. And by the way, the studios don't have the money for it. They just don't.
They could,
but they don't, because their model's completely changed and based off of streaming.
Well, not only that though, but ironically enough, it wasn't half bad. I watched that 90s show.
Okay, you say it wasn't that bad. It wasn't good.
It wasn't
good.
I mean, there was definitely not some of the charm. I know they opted not to do a shot for shot, which is good. I appreciate it. The fact that you had as a cornerstone Red and Kitty did convince me to give it a shot. It was enjoyable enough. But I will tell you what I did enjoy, which was basic, and it was definitely darker. I really loved The Ranch.
Oh yeah,
Sam Elliott,
Ashton
Kutcher, and Danny Masterson at the beginning.
We don't say his name.
Yeah, I know he's a scumbag. But it was a pretty good show. Now it was a bit darker, a little rougher, but it was funny. And it was entertaining. And it was a sitcom that had stage sets, It's a ranch, but you could tell that was a sound stage,
But the problem is it wasn't a shared cultural moment.
No. It worked well enough. It got 4 seasons.
But it wasn't a shared cultural moment. And that's the question. How do you get that? Yellowstone could be considered a shared cultural moment. Landman, shared cultural moment, potentially.
Well, some of these Taylor Sheridan shows really do generate some buzz.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a 4-quadrant show.
Yellowstone started, and continued to be its entire run on TV.
I heard there were a lot of people pissed at the ending, though.
Well, you kind of had to make do. You had to figure out what to do without Costner.
Yeah,
that was the problem. Was the fallout with Costner and Sheridan, and they did the best that they could. I actually felt the ending was pretty solid without Kevin. This is what you were going to have to do without the tentpole character, right? I thought that they did the best they could. So we're going to see.
It comes down to what is a cultural touchstone television show now for a shared experience, and it's getting fewer and fewer. And streaming's not going to help that. Stranger Things or hell, even Game of Thrones, despite them being most dominant on streaming, I would say it wasn't because of streaming that they were a cultural touchstone. They just kind of came at the right exact moment.
Well, they really came in before streaming was big. It wasn't even truly a thing yet. Because Game of Thrones itself was on HBO.
Right. Well, and HBO was through a paywall. So you could argue that it had the same kind of barrier as a streamer.
but it was week to week.
It was.
Of course, there were gaps between seasons, but like that, you know, people would stab you kind of spoilers. Yellowstone, Game of Thrones, those are shows that like fucking say anything because I haven't watched it yet and I'll choke you kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know, I just think I think Hollywood has sent. We gotta wrap up, by the way, but I know it's late. But I think Hollywood has sent us down a path where we're going. The likelihood of us being able to get these cultural touchstone TV shows, like Gilmore Girls or like the Golden Girls, or even, you know, what we get with Star Trek or Stargate. It's hard. It's the actual business model doesn't condone itself to allowing for that to happen. On top of that, the quality of the professionals that we get from Hollywood is terrible. And the other side of that is the people who are in charge never should have been in charge in the first place. They became put in charge at the wrong time with a certain agenda, and lo and behold,
I think you're gonna find that anywhere in life.
True, but lo and behold, Star Wars is you know, an afterthought.
Yeah, it's teetering.
You know, Doctor Who is dead.
Who?
Exactly. So, you know, that being said, the title of this episode is "The Kids Are All Right." Ironically, you were talking about that 90s show, which is a continuation of that 70s show, which was literally called "The Kids Are All Right." I didn't intend for that to happen, but that was the original title for that 70s show. I do take a certain comfort, ironically enough, that the Gen Zers see the quality of what these old TV shows are. And through that shared experience, they get to know what a quality storytelling experience can be. And I like that. It gives me comfort to know that. So I thought it was interesting. I'm glad we got to be able to talk about it.
Me too. It's a good topic. I think there is something to be said about, you know, people wanting some comfort right now when there's a lot of things that people are uncomfortable with in life.
Yeah.
I know I binge watched a lot on my first tour when it was, you know, there was some rough shit going on. And I binge watched episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. I binge watched episodes of The A-Team. I bought Briscoe. I watched Briscoe. I watched Space Above and Beyond. As much as it was shows and movies, like I watched as many current movies as I could get my hands on. Most of the TV shows were stuff already off the air. And, you know, I watched Wings. I watched Raymond. You know, I was like getting these DVDs, you know, sent to me or buying of like things. I even Star Trek. I slid into Deep Space Nine season, you know, all 7 seasons. I think no, I only got through like the first 3 seasons. But that was it. It was really like, you know, there was times I just needed to unplug and watch something that would take my brain away from the realism and to some comfort. I think really that's what it is.
Yeah. And that's it. And on that note, I think given the fact that, you know, we are in a kind of uncertain time where things are weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not weird. Yes, okay. We'll keep working. So long, everybody.
And I'm DT Caveman. Chet and I will see you on the high ground.
DT's got stories from cavalry scars. One writes the worlds where the heroes fly, the other old tanks under desert sky. From sandbox sports to the final frontier, two kids with dreams and a six-pack of beer. Different roads, same old spark. Talking Trek till the streetlights spark. We read those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mack and DT camming, lighting up the airwaves. Blasters of books, we geek to the core, laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys. Max spins a tale about a rogue AI. DT counters with, man, I drove that guy. From doom to doom, we argue the stakes while the coffee gets cold and the pizza box breaks. Childhood pals in a grown-up fight for the best damn death scene on a Friday night. Pixels or pages, we're never done. Two working stiffs chasing alien sun. We're in those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mack and DT camming, lighting up the airwaves. Blasters of books, we geek to the core, laughing through the lore on those sci-fi guys. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah. No capes, no powers, just regular days, but we'll save the galaxy in our own ways. Max drafting novels in the dead of night. DT's got tank tracks, turns them into light. Together we're louder than a hyperdrive screen. Two regular dudes living the sci-fi dream. Yeah, yeah, we're with those sci-fi guys riding warp speed waves. Mack and DT camming, lighting up the airwaves. From the sandbox to the stars, we'll never say die. Tune in, geek out, those sci-fi guys. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Next week, Blade Runners or replicants? Bring the Bourbon Rider boys, gonna get real.
Those Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by Alpha Site Productions, produced by DT Cabman and PS McKay. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow PS McKay on X at PS McKay or go to thosesci-fi-guys.com for past episode information. You can find us on Apple, Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave a like and a comment to let us know how we're doing.